Hello, everybody. I'm Harrison.
And I'm Rachel.
This week, we're talking about postpartum plans, so stay tuned and join us on our journey to
Meet
meet
Baby
Baby
H.
H.
Harrison and I are big planners. We fill our schedules so far in advance, and that system has worked really well for us.
When thinking about postpartum, we have known for a while that we will have 6 weeks at most, with all three of us being home together. Rachel has a very specific date that she's going to start working on a holiday production, and I'm going to join that production a little further in the process.
And once that show is over, Harrison will have to go back to work, and that will be our schedule until something changes again. So, something that we have had to consider is how do we make sure that we're giving my body time to recover, taking care of Edison together, and still feel like we had time to do some things as a family while we have no other responsibilities.
For us, postpartum planning looks like setting little goals of things that we want to be doing by a specific date and trying our best to stick to that. So today, we're going to share some of those things that we are hoping to do. This whole episode, we're going to be giving times based on the day after Edison is born. So at the very beginning of all of this, Edison is going to be born, and then we will spend 1 to 3 days in the hospital.
After we come home, that first week is going to be filled with our family meeting Edison for the first time and just trying to get acclimated to being at home with a newborn.
We know that that first week is going to be very tiring for a lot of reasons, and we also know a large contributor to that is going to be people coming to visit Edison. We're really excited for our family to get to meet him, but we're also nervous about how does all that work because we are not going to be in a place to entertain people, but family still has to travel. And I know that our families are going to be very accommodating and they're definitely going to understand that, but it's just something that we worry about. So, in that first week, we are not really setting any other goals other than to make it through the week and just spend time with us and Edison.
It's really going to be a gauge of how are we doing physically and emotionally to see if the rest of our timeline is going to continue as planned. For me, I'm a little worried about my emotional state just with the lack of sleep that naturally comes with it. And just the fact that for the past 9 months, Edison has been completely mine. I have not had to share him with anybody. And that can be challenging as a new mom to give up this baby to somebody else.
I think that that's something that we're really going to struggle with, and I can see a lot of other people struggling with that as well. And for the family that comes to visit him, I don't know if it'll make a whole lot of sense to them of, yeah, Rachel might not be super willing to just pass him around because she just wants to hold him. And there should be nothing wrong with that.
It's a tough balance because you're so excited to share him. Like, I am so excited to see him with his cousins and with my siblings and my parents and Harrison's family. But at the same time, we haven't got to hold him yet. We want to bond with him too.
I always have found it very interesting that people come to your hospital room like right away, a couple hours after the baby is born to meet that kid. And they're so excited. But it also means that that kid has only been with their parents for those few hours. And we want family to be important to Edison. And we hope that our families want to meet Edison and spend time with him, but we also want to be able to do that too. So we're definitely going to try to slow that process of everybody meeting him a little bit down from what used to be the normal.
So, to prepare our family for meeting Edison for the first time, we're kind of setting a couple of ground rules for how we want to go about those early visits.
Some of those ground rules are as simple as just general health. So we want to make sure that people don't come if they're sick and that they let us know beforehand and that people don't kiss him. That is really the biggest thing is that you should not kiss a newborn baby. And we're a little worried about that one.
You will never see me so angry if you kiss Edison without permission. I will snatch him back so fast, and you will probably never enter my house again.
So, if you're listening to this and you think that you may eventually meet Edison at some point in time, just keep that in mind. Don't kiss him. It's just something that is really a concern for a lot of different health reasons. And yeah, you might see a parent like kiss their kid or something. And while that may not be super recommended, it's a little bit different because that kid is literally living in that parent's filth. So it's not as big of a deal as these people that could have gone who knows where that do that.
Since our family doesn't live super close, Harrison and I have had to figure out how to give ourselves enough space to reset if we need to, but also give others the opportunity to not feel like they're just being shoved out of our house or have nowhere to go. So, we're kind of compiling this list of things that can be done in our area. If we need a little break, we can tell people, hey, go check out this place, or here's a really cool place to get food.
For me, one of the big things that I am worried about is people watching me how to figure out how to take care of Edison. I've not had to take care of a child where there's nobody else to fall back on. And there's a lot of things that you just have to figure out as a parent. And I know that a lot of those situations happen in public and you just have to deal with them. But if I don't have to have somebody staring me down while I'm figuring out how to deal with whatever it is at the moment, I don't really want to. So if the situation arises where we really just need a second, we just need people to not be in the house, we are telling everybody, you need to be okay with the idea. We might ask you to leave for a little while, and you definitely can come back, but we just need to take a minute and reset.
Along with the idea of we just need to figure out how to take care of him ourselves, we've been telling people that if he's crying, just give him back to us. It doesn't mean that we don't think you can take care of him. We know that our parents know how to soothe a crying baby. But the point is more that we need to figure out how to soothe our own crying baby.
One of the things that I think we're both kind of struggling with a lot of the family interactions is that both of our parents have had 4 kids. And it's very difficult in our eyes to be telling our parents, yeah, this is kind of something we want to do, or like try to tell them how we want something to be done because we've done it one time. We are figuring it out as we go, and they've already done it. So they should have a little bit more insight. But at the same time, we may value different things than our parents, and we may be doing things different. So we just want to try to keep it as consistent across the board as we can.
Another thing that we're kind of just setting as a rule, it doesn't really have a whole lot to do with meeting him necessarily, but as far as taking photos and using social media, we're pretty protective over what gets shared of Edison online.
I know it might seem weird that we seem protective of our privacy, and here we are having a podcast that literally anybody can listen to. But there are certain things that we just want to keep just us. And it's not necessarily that we're concerned that somebody else sees it. It's just that we feel like it's a little bit more special if only we have that, and maybe not everybody knows that. So we are a little bit selective about it. And we're both not really crazy about social media in general. So we're probably not going to do a ton of posting there anyway, unless it's in private channels.
Around 1 week old, we're hoping that we can go for a walk somewhere outside, whether that is just around our little neighborhood or going to a local trail. We have a lot of great paved areas around that is a quick 10-minute drive to get there that we can just take a moment outside, practice getting him in the car, in the stroller, and just getting the exercise and the daylight.
With any of these goals, we know that it could be very difficult or it might be super easy, but we want to start close to home so that if Rachel isn't feeling well or Edison isn't doing well, or just in case anything happens, it's very easy just to get back to home base and reset. We're not setting any restrictions for ourselves on this walk. We just want to get Edison outside and just take a walk. It could be one little quarter-mile lap that we have around our subdivision, and I think that that would be a win for us.
Yeah. By the time he's 2 weeks old, we are hoping to take him to the zoo. And you may be thinking, okay, you're crazy, but the zoo is somewhere that is very comfortable for us.
We go to the zoo all the time. We got memberships as soon as we moved to the city, and we go so much that the membership is probably like we're paying like a cent every single time we go there. We don't even always go to see animals. Sometimes it's as simple as, well, we want a nice place to walk where we can see some stuff. So we walk around and we see some animals. We have really enjoyed it. And we know that we want to get Edison out somewhere public, but also somewhere where we don't really have to interact with a ton of people and we can move at our own pace.
We know the zoo layout very well. We know where every bathroom is, we know where the nursing rooms are, we know every kind of animal that you can see and the animals' names. So for us, it makes sense to go to this place that, yes, there are other people around, but Edison is not going to be exposed to them in the same sense that he would be exposed to a group of people.
We also have the cutest little newborn zoo outfit that we have to make good use of. So he's got to wear it a ton of times to the zoo.
And the zoo is about 30 minutes from home, so it is going to take a little bit more effort to get there and to just do the zoo in general, but it's a nice second step up from just going for a basic walk somewhere.
At 3 to 4 weeks, we're hoping to kind of do a family day with Edison. So we're going to go to the zoo again. A few weeks in is going to be Boo at the zoo. So we're looking in the October range. And this is something that Rachel's family has done a little while with the kids that are there now. And we're also hoping that my family can come over and we can just do the zoo. This is probably going to be our first kind of all day trip. We just are setting it as a goal to make it through the whole day and just that be the first time that we're out of the house pretty much all day.
Not only will it be a full day of activity, but it will be a full day with people other than ourselves. So, getting Edison used to being held by different people and being in a more chaotic environment, I guess.
Around 1 month old, we're going to try to do our very first evening where Rachel and I are not with Edison. Our birthdays are both in October, about a month after Edison's expected due date. So we are hoping that that will be the first evening that we do not spend with Edison.
Since we're working on this holiday production that goes into rehearsals very shortly after he is born, we wanted to make sure that that first evening that we have to be away from him is something kind of fun. So, we're going to get a nice dinner. I am going to have a margarita finally, and we're just going to do something that we can enjoy and leave him with trusted people and not have our first evening away from him be because of a rehearsal.
We know that this seems really early for a lot of people to spend an evening away that soon, but to us, it's really important that he's able to make it through the night with somebody else and is not reliant on us. And part of the reason that we want to do this while we're doing something fun is that we can be accessible with whatever we're doing. Whereas when these rehearsals come for our holiday production, we may not be accessible. We can't just drop out of rehearsal immediately to take a phone call. So it's as much of a prep for us just spending time away from him as it is a prep for whoever's going to be watching him so that they can kind of get a little bit of an idea of how does Edison usually run.
It'll also be the first time that we'll get to try out our camera system in a way with the whole iPad monitoring and see how that goes.
From 5 to 6 weeks old, that is going to be when Rachel is going back to work. So we will actually be temporarily moving to a new town in a new apartment for about 6 weeks. So that's going to be a pretty big milestone.
Something that we should mention with me going back to work is that I am going to have to start pumping, and Harrison is going to have to start practicing bottle feeding with Edison when he is about 3.5 weeks old. While I'm away at rehearsals, I'm going to have to pump for a little bit because babies need to be fed about every 3 hours. And the rehearsals are just long enough that I can't go a whole stretch without needing to pump or feed him. And we're also going to be introducing bottles so that when I'm gone, Harrison can feed him and he's already used to being fed that way.
These are just a couple of the milestones, and there's still like so many things that we are going to have to figure out and that we're looking forward to happening. But we wanted to make sure that we set these timelines early on of like these are the goals so that we don't fall into this rut of just like we're staying in the house, we're not going anywhere, we're not doing anything. Because if we don't have something on the schedule, Rachel and I could stay in the house and not be bothered by it for a very long time.
We have these goals, but we also understand that there's really nothing that says that we have to do any of these things except going back to work. That's really the first, okay, you really have to do this. Yes, it will be so beneficial for us if we can actually accomplish all of these things and feel comfortable going into that show. But at the same time, we're really just going to take it day by day, see how we're doing, see how Edison is doing, and figure it out.
We know that for a lot of people, this might sound like a crazy schedule, and this would never work for a lot of other people. And that's fine. What those people are doing wouldn't work for us either. And we're not holding ourselves to it. This is an ideal plan that we are willing to change. It was very important to us before Rachel was even pregnant that when we had kids, we didn't want to absolutely change everything about our lives. And we know tons and tons of things are going to change. They might be harder, some things might be easier, but we want to make sure that the stuff that we like to do, we can still do with Edison, and hopefully he will enjoy them as well. It sounds insane to take a 1 month old child to Boo at the Zoo, and I'm sure that he will not remember a single bit of it. But if we walk away with a couple of cute pictures and some really good memories, to us, it's more important that we remember it and that we started doing things with him as soon as we could.
And it really helps that our families are so supportive of us as well, and that we really feel like we don't have to put on this front or be fake about anything. Like, if we're really struggling, we know that our families are going to be very understanding of that and also be there to help.
I think that it's important going into having a newborn that you've made these plans and that you have an idea of how you want this to go, but you also need to make sure that you are willing to let yourself change your mind. We know right now that there is so much that we have no clue, and we just have to be okay with that. Some things are going to change, and we'll be happy to change with them. We're hopeful that as long as Edison's delivery goes smoothly, that we'll be able to accomplish most of these postpartum goals.
Next time, we are going to talk about season 2 of Meeting Baby H. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.